Welcome back everyone to this Let's Draw series. I just want to apologize real quick. I'm a little bit sick and I'm going to edit out as many sniffles and coughs as I can, but inevitably you're going to hear it in my voice, so I hope you can put up with that. Today I'd like to go through my process for drawing trees and bushes and thickets or underbrush real quick. Because and I know many other people, like to play either on a whiteboard or a dry erase battle map, or perhaps you just want to draw really quick battle maps and need a quick method for drawing these things. Usually, I play fairly off the cuff, and my players might be on a road traveling between cities, and I'll pull out my random encounter table and I'll roll a d20, and if the d20 says bandit attack, I don't necessarily have a forest battle map ready to pull out. In fact, I personally never have a battle map ready to pull out. Instead, I will pick up my whiteboard, and in the time it takes my players to roll their initiative, I have drawn up a nice fancy forest battle map. So I'm just going to hit this one point at a time, beginning with trees. Here is what my tree usually looks like. It is a circle. In fact, it's two circles. It's one circle and then another circle that's not the precise shape of the first circle. And to me, that looks like the trunk, the cross-section of a trunk. And that's really all you need to have a functional tree on your battle map. Here's your grid, and your player now knows, okay, there's the trunk of a tree. Perhaps I can't move through that space. Perhaps I'll use it as cover. Perhaps I'll climb up it. You know, that's everything you need to play your role-playing game. But if you want to add a second layer of detail, I might add some roots, and these roots are just imprecise little soft triangles coming off the edge of that second circle. And now your cross-section tree has some roots and looks more like a stump. For a third layer of detail, I will throw down some leaves. And when I'm drawing leaves, I'm thinking in terms of bunches, or let me put it this way. I'm just thinking about the trunk of the tree separating into branches as it goes up, into limbs, I suppose it's called. And so your tree's not going to be a perfect circle. In fact, it's going to be an imperfect circle. Wow. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there because I remembered the reason I picked up this pen today. Because when I'm drawing on my whiteboard, I have a black marker, a green marker, a blue marker, and a red marker, and each one has a purpose for my players. I use the black for obstacles, general obstacles, or man-made things, walls and trunks and rocks and things which are significant to the player's decisions. I use the green marker for vegetation and stuff. I use the blue marker for water, and I use the red marker for hazards, and that's my basic guide. Now this pen doesn't have a green marker, so I'm going to use the blue one. But usually I'll draw the foliage in blue, so that it's easier for, I'll draw it in green, usually, so that it's easier for my players to look past the blue layer and see the trunks, so that all of this detail isn't so confusing to them. So this is what I use. I use my leafy pattern, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And I'm just drawing these bunches of leaves, which could also be translated as the meaty branches of these trees. And so this just, you could imagine it, since it's blue, it's the shadow cast down by the leaves of this tree. Otherwise, it still defines the canopy of the tree, but it's useful for someone who has climbed this tree. They know, okay, now I can move around in this kind of area. So that is kind of level 2 or 3 of detail, if you've got time, or if you're drawing a proper battle map and you have all the time in the world. I'm going to pick one direction for the light to go, and since this light's kind of going that way, I'm going to pick that way. And on this side of the tree, I'm going to put my shadow. And all the shadow is we're going to do this pattern again, but much like the trunk, we're following it imprecisely, and we're just going to vary it up, and just do a second layer, and then maybe a third layer, but incomplete. And already there you see that suggests that there's a shadow on this side. And at that point I call my tree finished, although if you really want to get detailed you might throw in some cross-hatching shadow around the edges. And or if you want to add color, there's a whole different set of techniques you can do. Now bushes, pretty much skip that trunk phase because the branches of a bush are pretty insignificant. And pretending again that there's a grid. I like to make my bushes follow a grid for obvious reasons, for difficult terrain rules and stuff. And I also think in bunches for the bushes, so if I were to draw out in red perhaps, my thought process, there's going to be a big bunch, little bunch, medium bunch, big bunch, little, big, medium. And as my brain is kind of thinking in this way, my hand is using our leafy pattern to draw around these shapes, these bunches. And without the red in, it looks something like, and here's just a wall created by a bush. And for bushes, this is kind of level 1 detail. This is what I'd put alongside my double circle tree. And it's functional at this point. This is obviously a bush for your players, and you can just tell them verbally, hey, this is too thick for you to cross, or it's difficult terrain, or blah blah blah. And level 2 detail, we're going to draw down the middle of this thing, down the imprecise middle, in fact, just another pattern. So imprecise middle, I mean we're going to sway from side to side and make it look natural and organic. And you'll notice that this pattern has a direction, right? The soft edges on this side. In this case, you know, the leaves are going out this way. So for this middle line, I'm just going to vary it up. So it's going to go that way, it's going to go that way, it's going to go back and forth. And you can see how quick and easy that was. It's just a method of scribbling that you get very good at, and very quick at with practice. And that there is a good level 2 detail level. And level 3 detail level, you could add in some more hatchy goodness, or in this case just, I'm literally making a scribble. There's no method or anything to it, just little scribbles, connecting that inner line with the outer lines, and just suggesting, okay, this is kind of a shaded clump of leaves. And it just adds a little bit more visual interest. So those are my methods for trees and bushes. As for thickets, I want to admit most of the time, here's my grid, most of the time my method for defining kind of a difficult terrain, thick foliage, thicket, underbrush kind of deal is by doing this, which some of you may have employed before. It's the careful art of scribbling. But if you want to be a little bit more fancy than that, I figured out a technique that's quick and easy. And basically we're going to take this pattern, our leafy pattern, and we're going to draw a back and forth zigzag with it. And when you do so, and the other thing, we're going to kind of vary up the direction of it, but we'll get to that later when we get to the pattern itself. So this zigzag in a leafy pattern will look something like, and you can see it's very quick and easy. Look like this. And there you filled in a couple of grid cells pretty quick. And then you can just point to that and say, okay players, that is difficult terrain, or perhaps you have a color code for it. And the only other thing I'd add to this, in regards to detail, is I'd go to the corners of our zigzag and I'll just extend them a tad. And that just kind of breaks up the obvious zigzag. You can see now it looks much more natural. And then you might even throw in some hatching. Not sure how that'll look. Looks pretty good, I think. And you can see that's some quite convincing grassy stuff, huh? For just a quick zigzag. So, the backbone to all of these natural objects, natural features, is our leaf pattern. So, time for the keys to the kingdom. The general idea, there's kind of three components to it. The first is the simple idea of it, and it's these little arches that you're drawing over and over and over, right? I don't know how to describe that with words. You just have to, I guess here it's a McDonald's arch, but it's repeated and it's connected. And perhaps I should have eaten before making this video. So this is your general pattern. Now the second component to it is you break down these little arches and you vary them in size. Just random sizes and random like a random frequency of sizes, right? And you can see we're much more natural looking now. And the third and the final component is randomizing the size. You're going to randomize to a general degree, whatever that means, the direction. So we're going left, right, up, left, up, right, up, left, blah, 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 blah. And it actually feels less natural to me now drawing it slowly than drawing it quickly. Because you do this a while and you're going to get very good and very quick at it. And don't be afraid to lift your pen as you're drawing. You can lift it pretty much at any point and just continue on. Although it is probably faster if you don't lift your pen. But, and it probably pays to be a little slower than what I'm doing. And yeah. And I suppose the fourth component could be drawing in bunches. But we've gone over that before. And altogether, it makes for some pretty natural little map features, I think. So, I hope that me putting all my thoughts down like this makes sense for you. And I hope that it helps you, whether you like drawing maps at a table, on a whiteboard or dry erase mat like I do, or whether you're drawing all your maps in advance for your players. I feel like these different features and the different amounts of detail you can add to them, I hope that there's something for everyone in this video. So if you enjoy it, please let me know, and please tell me in the comments what you'd like to see next. And if you really want to support me, please check out my Patreon. That's in the description. Okay, I'm going to go have a nice big glass of orange juice and perhaps a nap and get over this cold. So I'll see you guys next time.